certainly does feel like a tale of two teams here at Sporting Kansas City.
Sometimes you're a fire, sometimes you're a ghost. Sometimes you can give me all the things that I love the most. Sometimes you're a queen, sometimes you're a curse, and sometimes a whole lot worse. Yeah, nobody's quite like you.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Blue Hell Worldwide here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and today in episode number 33 of the series we are taking on Monterrey in the league, followed by Sassuolo in the Europa League. So two different competitions that we've got to keep tabs on for a little while in this first half of the season. So if you're looking forward to that, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the Football Manager content here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we start today's episode in the transfer history window when we finished yesterday's episode in the Champions League qualifiers against Marseille. If you missed that, I'll leave a link to it above my head in the top right corner. We had not quite got to the end of the transfer window. We had done, to be fair, all of our first team business at that stage, but we've just done a few other things since there, loaning players out, selling a few reserves players, and also bringing in some guys who look decent who came to the club on trials since then. So we got rid of quite a few players from the club on deadline day. The first was actually a sale. Camden Riley, he was a backup right back here at the club, never really had the potential to do much for us. We sold him to JS Kabylie for €190,000. And off the back of that, we loaned out some more promising players, quite a few wingers in amongst these. First off, Perry Moss went out to Yeovil Town for a season-long loan. Next up, we decided to loan out Luke Bolton. We considered trying to sell him, but no clubs were interested in him, being valued around the 10 million mark. No one willing to give us that money, which would have been useful. We could have strengthened up potentially at the back a little bit more if we got that money. But Luke Bolton, with that little bit of potential he still does have to get above that 3 stars he currently is on, we decided to loan him out to AAB. And to complete the wingers out on loan, Simon Adjringra, who had a decent spell out on loan from the club last season, he has gone out to US Orleans for another loan spell. 2.5-star current ability, some good potential. Hopefully he can keep growing with some regular game time. And in terms of ins, we have signed 2 players. This could rise. We've actually got quite a few interesting and high potential trialists currently at the club, so we might still look to improve our depth with those young players coming through on those trials. But the first one that we did sign of those was Almari Kamara, a centre-back from Guinea. You can see 16 heading, 14 jumping reach. Has those attributes that I do like in my centre-back, so he has joined on a free transfer. And the other player who has joined more recently is Lucas Franco. He is a box-to-box midfielder who immediately slots in as third choice for the club at 18 years old, an Argentinian with 2.5-star current ability and 5-star potential. Got him on a free and only €800 a week as well. So 2 youngsters who have joined the club. Lucas Franco probably more than likely going to get a little bit of first team football when we get an injury to Busio or Doyle Hayes, but just strengthening up our stocks here at the club youth-wise. But in terms of the first team, we're pretty much looking exactly how we have done since that first transfer episode earlier this week. We did have offers come in late for Gianluca Busio, which if they came in a little bit earlier, we might have considered them. They were around the €28 million mark. Potentially could try and get a little bit more for him if we were looking to sell him. But given that those offers came in on the last day of the transfer window, we didn't really have an alternative to come in for him. We decided to turn those down, and it's probably a player who we should be looking to keep at the club anyway, with 5-star potential, 20 years old, homegrown talent, a player who has been pretty solid for us so far in the save, a consistently good performer. We decided to keep hold of him, but some interest starting to be shown in Gianluca Busio. But since the end of yesterday's episode, we have played 2 league games and then 2 Europa League Group games. First up, the league games, and it was a home game against Atletico Mineiro, and we got off to a good start in this home game. 22 minutes gone, a free kick from Gazelle to Punchek at the far post, heads that away nicely, and we go 1-0 up after 22 minutes, and then only 5 minutes later, Gazelle on the ball again, some good short passing just inside the box, and in the end it was Wintle with a deflected shot there off Appelkamp, lofted quite nicely, almost like a pitching wedge into the net there, and we pick up a 2-0 win at home, so keeping a good little revival of our league form going with that win over Atletico Mineiro. And off the back of that, we had an away trip this time to another Atletico Paranense, a team who we do have the wood over slightly. And luckily for us, that continued in this away game early. 18 minutes gone, we got on the scoreboard. Olasunde in for Gazelle, back out to Busio. Ayongo from a tight angle. Santos gets a hand to it, but not enough to keep it from going in the back of the net. And we had a 1-0 lead at halftime. And then in the second half, we did steal it. And this is absolutely calamitous from Santos. He did not have a good game in goal, did the Atletico Paranense goalkeeper. Absolutely gifting one there to Reyes. And we pick up a 2-0 win. Stat-wise, probably deserved it, but the scoreline potentially flattering us somewhat. Their goalkeeper, as I said, had an absolute shocker. But what that means league-wise is since the end of yesterday's episode, we have picked up 2 more wins and we have jumped up the table quite nicely now, somewhat out of the relegation zone, 4 points clear, which I suppose after 6 games in the season is pretty safely out of the relegation zone and starting to get up the table a little bit more up into 10th position. And still 9 points behind LAFC, but with a game in hand, which we're about to play against Monterrey. But starting to look like we might end up starting this season a little bit better than the last one. So that start that we had a few episodes ago against both Palmeiras and Santos may not end up hurting us as much as we feared. And then we started our Europa League campaign with one of the toughest trips we're going to have in this group stage, probably aside from Sevilla, and that was PSV Eindhoven away from home. But we did get off to a good start in this game around the 10-minute mark. Del Clos, just with a poor pass there, falls to Shalloy. He sets Polito through, who was coming into this game after being rested the prior one with a little bit of a niggle. He puts us 1-0 up after 10 minutes with a pretty simple finish. But from there, unfortunately, things started to fall apart for us. Mullen with a ball in there for Totino to make it 1-1 just around the half-hour mark. And then only a few minutes later, they got in front here, did PSV. Totino with a cross that's blocked. Then Nandez puts one in for Mullen, who had a ridiculous game. 2-1 just after the half-hour mark. That was the half-time score. We tried to tell the boys we weren't doing too badly at half-time, and then we turned to custard in the second half, as to be said. Mullen getting another one at the 50-minute mark to make it 3-1. Then at the 60th minute, Zfook puts the ball forward there, and then it's played forward for Mullen yet again, and he completes his hat-trick, just taking that oh so casually around Tim Melia. And then with only a few minutes to go, they absolutely sealed things. Cristante out to Mauro Jr., and he beats Melia there with a little bit of help from the crossbar, but some poor second half defence from us there, and we lose our first Europa League group game 5-1. Not much complaining we can do there when you look at the stats. They absolutely dominated that, but just a little bit frustrating after we opened the scoring in that one. And then we faced another away trip, this time to Mulder, who are bottom of their division in the tier below us. So this looked like quite a suitable task for us to try and get some confidence back in this rotation team, but they got off to a flyer here, did Mulder at the 5-minute mark. They hold the ball quite nicely just outside the box, play that over to Pedersen. Somehow that gets past Melia at his near post, and they do go 1-0 up. But then shortly before halftime, we did get back into this game. Daniel Shalloy down the left puts the ball in, and Reyes with a good header into the top right corner, and we went into halftime at 1-1. But then in the second half, yet again, our rotation team just getting quite sloppy at the back. Dorfler in there for Osnes. Melia with a terrible attempted save there, just parries that down for Fabio Martins, and they go 2-1 in front. And then unfortunately, Jones doesn't quite win the ball there. They play that forward in an absolute mess at the back there. I think that's more on Melia than Vandenberg at that stage. He really should have tied that up, and we end up losing 3-1. Stat-wise, it was actually quite an even game, but we just weren't clinical enough with our chances, and we did gift them a few goals there, unfortunately, largely thanks to Tim Melia, and it just was not a good day at the office, losing 3-1 to a team, as I said, bottom of their league in the tier below us in this World Super League database. So what that means for our Europa League group is we are in big trouble early. The only team with no points. We're going to need to get a result today against Sassuolo, I think, if we want to try and keep ourselves in the hunt to try and get out of this quite tough group in our third season of Europa League football. But at the moment, it certainly does feel like a tale of two teams here at Sporting Kansas City. Our first 11 doing a pretty good job for us in the league after a rough start, but our rotation team just not firing. And because of that, we have called on some more experienced heads that we thought some younger players might have overtaken them, but they're not performing. So the likes of Graham Zusi and Johnny F. and Russell have come back into the first team picture for the likes of Lyshoj and both Emmanuel Thompson and Craig Jones. Started things off quite nicely on that right wing, but hasn't really lived up to much after that first game that he played for us. So Johnny F. and Russell coming back into the rotation now as well. Those youngsters, maybe they just need another year of under 18 or reserves football before their first team ready, but we're calling on the more experienced heads to hopefully guide our rotation team through in the Europa League and try and rescue us from a pretty dire situation in that competition. Something which also happened after yesterday's episode, as Bjortuf was just about to come back into things, he picked up another injury, so he is yet to start a game for the club competitively. He has recovered from that heading into today's episode, but is still only capable of playing 45 minutes, so we're going to have to try and ease him back into things from the bench, but it is a difficult position to try and ease players back into things because not usually a manager who takes centre backs off because they are players who tend to not get too tired out there. So Bjortuft is starting to come back. Hopefully he'll be back soon because our defence could definitely use some reinforcements, but we'll just have to see what we can do and hopefully get him back to full fitness sooner rather than later, and that might help us tidy things up at the back, especially in the rotation team as we're having to call on both Coronado and De Quiros with Bjortuft and of course Fontas having been injured recently. But first up today we go to the first 11. Hopefully they can keep their good run of form in the league going and we can shoot up the table a little bit more with this game against 17th place Monterrey at home. It's a game we probably should be winning. We'll come back shortly and hopefully get the job done at Children's Mercy Park. And here are the team sheets for the first game of today's episode. As I said, it's our first choice 11 starting this game, and it is pretty much as good as we can have it, with Punchek coming in for the slightly injured recovering Bjortuft, who is on the bench. Otherwise, Zusi back in the team, Johnny F. and Russell back in the team with those changes that we made because of poor performance. The youngsters not quite living up to what they should be doing, even though they are quite young, just not really performing as well as we would like. And also Ozzy Cisneros on the bench while Daniel Shalloy recovers from a little bit of a knock. Monterrey on the right, no big names there that I can see, and hopefully we can get a good result against the 17th place team in the Brasileiro Serie A. 8 minutes gone and we have a corner to start this game off. Gazelle puts us into the mixer. Ramos Mingo will clear things, but looks like we're starting this game off fairly well, which is nice to see after a couple of games where we played in the Europa League. And as I said, our rotation team just looking very low on confidence and skill at the moment. They're really struggling, while this first choice 11 does a pretty good job trying to put a ball in there for Gazelle. I believe that was a Yongo, but they do clear it away out to Olasunde, so still in a good position here we are, but a good sustained spell of pressure for us. And there's a nice ball over the top for Felix. Mecha tries to put that past the keeper at the near post, but a good start. Still remains 0-0 though. And now at the 11-minute mark, we have a throw in which Yongo puts into Mecha, and we look to keep this good little spell of pressure we've got going early here on Monterrey, and we knock the ball about. Good ball out there to Olasunde from Mecha. Gazelle with a finish into the top left corner. Rashid Gazelle starting to find some good form now. He's had a few starts under his belt for his new club, and we go 1-0 up after 12 minutes. And the way that we've seen these highlights play out, I think it's deserved. We've been playing pretty well to start this game, and we have some reward for that. Good ball there from Mecha out to Olasunde, and then a nice finish and a little bit of tight space there from Gazelle, and we go 1-0 up early. 42 minutes gone, we have a corner. Pretty quiet game ever since the Gazelle goal, but from that corner, Punchek flicks it on to Felix Mecha at the far post, and he continues to be one of our most prolific goal scorers at the club since joining last season. We make it 2-0 before halftime, and that is a very nice scoreline to go into the sheds at. A very nice flick on there from Punchek, and Mecha with a pretty simple finish at the far post, and it looks like we should be going into halftime 2-0 up, and we do. Yongo's just picked up a little bit of a knock there, so I think what we might do it here at halftime is take him off for Louis Martins, but very happy with how this is going. The first choice 11, as I said, continuing to perform pretty well, so we'll just tell them to keep on doing what they're doing, and hopefully we can extend this advantage in the second half. 2-0 up against Monterrey. 48 minutes gone. We did make that change at left back at half time. We have a throw in a nice area of the pitch. Wintle puts a cross and they do deal with it, but Jala is going to tidy things up for us, and we're playing this game in a really nice area of the pitch. Nice ball there for Felix Mecha. Great chance. Best chance of the game, I'd say, but a good save from the goalkeeper. Keeps it at 2-0. We'll see if anything happens from the subsequent corner from Gazelle after we scored from one before, but they do hit it clear. It remains 2-0, and now we're down the other end for a Monterrey free kick, which they do head over the bar. As I go a bit Sylvester on things there with the pronunciation, but the header goes wide. Will tell Olasunde to ease off tackles, and it remains 2-0 after 50 minutes. 52 minutes gone, and now back down the other end for a free kick of our own. A bit of a poor delivery that time, though, from Gazelle. But as I said, playing this game in the right area of the pitch for the most part. Vandenberg ball over the top, trying to pick out Mecha. That's a pretty poor clearance though, as Punchik tidies things up for us. Louis Martins, some good short passing. Wintle with a shot. It goes fairly well wide, but we're playing some nice football here. 2-0 up. Okay, 62 minutes gone here. We're going to make our second substitution. Alan Polito only on a 6.5 rating. I'll just think we'll try Anthony Reyes. Those two pretty interchangeable now. I think Anthony Reyes is definitely a very accomplished option for us should Polito not fire. So we'll bring him on at the 62-minute mark. Still 2-0 to SKC. 67 minutes gone here, and it is a throw to Olasunde. Gives the ball straight back to them, but luckily Sasha Jala tidies things up from the resulting clearance, and we are back in possession and inside their half again. Eventually, after Vandenberg just switches that to the other side, and we start to drive forward here. Busio, who was under a big offer, as I said, but just probably not the right time to sell him on transfer deadline day. We get the ball out to Louis Martins on the edge of the box. It's a tackle there from DeAndre Yedlin. Now, I think that looked like a pretty fair penalty. It looked like one of those ones that usually gets given, but we'll just wait for VAR to confirm. It hasn't helped us much lately with offside goals, but that time they do give the penalty. I'm not entirely sure who our penalty taker is this season. It's Gazelle, so he steps in where Johnny Russell left off last season, and a good finish to get his second goal of the game into the bottom right corner, and that's his third goal of the season. As I said, he's starting to pick things up these last couple of weeks in the league, and we go 3-0 up with 20 minutes to go and looking pretty dominant here against Monterrey. 75 minutes gone here. We're going to make our last substitution. Olasunde, yellow card, and a red heart. So Graham Zusi can come on for him. That's our last sub. We'll tell him not to ease off tackles with 15 minutes to go. A good 3-0 lead here. 78 minutes gone here, and we have a free kick in a pretty dangerous spot. Gazelle looking for a hat trick. Nearly curves that into the bottom right corner, but not quite. Just goes wide. Still, it remains 3-0 with 10 to go. 84 minutes gone here. A throw to Monterrey. We're looking for a little bit of pride late in this game. I don't think they're going to do too much. An interesting slide tackle there from one of our players. Not exactly sure who that was, but eventually we got the ball back, and now we give it straight back to them. So Monterrey start to drive forward for one of the few times they have done so in this game. And Yedlin down the right, who did give away that penalty earlier, puts a ball in the mix. A good chance there, but the header goes over the bar. If that's on target, I think Unsane is high and dry, but 3-0 with not long to go. We'll just slow things down to make sure they don't get back into this, but looking pretty good for another 3 points here at home. And indeed, we pick up the 3 points. That was a very good performance again from our first team. As I said, does feel like a tale of two teams at the club here at the moment. Our first team in very good touch, but our rotation not so much. Hopefully that will be fixed in the next game coming up against Sassuolo, with Zusi and Russell coming back into the mix. But pretty much everyone, potentially Polito aside, performing well for us there, and a good solid 3-0 win. Nothing less than we deserved, and we'll just go a little bit further here and see what that means for the league table. And we have shot up to 5th now on 12 points, only 6 points behind table topping LAFC. And as I said, that's a team who we did beat to win the MLS title in our first season here. So we're definitely shooting up the right end of the table. So we'll come back shortly with the rotation team and try and get ourselves some points away at Sassuolo. And here are the team sheets for this Europa League game. As I said, really need some points out of this one, but a tough test against Sassuolo away. Their team on the left, they do have Diego Costa at the back, Pulisic on the bench as well, which is an interesting option. So must have some good depth there at Sassuolo at the moment. In terms of us, as I said, the full rotation, Zusi and Johnny F. and Russell back, and Daniel Shallowy still hasn't quite recovered from that niggle that kept him out of the first game. So Cisneros gets a start there as well. And also we've got Coronado and De Quiros at centre-back, while Bjortuf still works his way back from that injury. Still only recommended to play 45 minutes, but we'll see what our boys can do here. It might be a case for Tim Melia in particular. If he has another shocker, we might have to cast him aside for someone like Remy Deschamps, or we'll just play Unsane throughout the season as our first choice goalkeeper in as many games as we can. But hopefully he can do something decent in goal for us today, and hopefully an improved performance from this rotation team to try and keep us in the hunt in this Europa League group. 6 minutes gone, we have the first highlight of this game, a throw to Sassuolo, and they get in a dangerous area of the pitch early, although Louis Martins tidies things up for us. But this is a team low on confidence, although Anthony Reyes, one of the form players in this rotation, starts to drive forward but can't get past Diego Costa, as you would expect, I suppose, but we do get the ball back from a clearance. Russell tries to play that forward for Reyes, but they cut it out here. Do Sassuolo, and Kwalniaki is able to get past the defender there, but his shot goes into the side netting, so a bit helter-skelter early, but still it remains 0-0. Free kick here to Sassuolo in the 37th minute. They're going to try and put this in the back of the net, but this time Tim Melia with a decent save to put that out for a corner, and we do keep that at 0-0. A few minutes shy of half-time, they put the ball in here. Coronado deals with it. We'll see if anything results from that clearance header. We deal with that again there through Coronado. We get a free kick, and 7 minutes shy of half-time, still 0-0. Now down the other end with a few minutes to go in the half for a corner, and I think that was De Quiros who got his head on that, but unfortunately straight at Russo in goal, and they will try and clear this through a throw and playing that across goal, which is a little bit dicey sometimes, but they do it well. Do Sassuolo, and now they get that out to the left winger, who is in a lot of space on a yellow card. Zusi with a good slide tackle, but can't retrieve the ball back. They put a ball into the mixer. Coronado heads that clear, and that should deal with the danger for now, although this highlight does continue, which is a little bit concerning. If we conceded one before halftime, I think our heads might drop. They put a ball in there. It forces a pretty good save out of Melia. I think that was it. Either that or just hit a little bit too much on it off the crossbar, and we hold on to 0-0 just shy of halftime. And now it's a corner to Sassuolo. De Quiros having a pretty good game at the back for us today aerially, him and Coronado, but Sassuolo putting some real pressure on us late in this half. Ferrari just outside the box, I think. We try and close him down, and we eventually will through a Cisneros clearance, but unfortunately Ferrari gets back to tie things up here for the Italians in the green and black, and they look to play out from the back again. Don't quite get into a position to cut that ball out there. They play that over the top for Zajicki, and it just comes off the post. We get really lucky there. Still 0-0, just shy of halftime. 45 minutes and a half gone, and we nearly deal with that throw in safely. It was a little bit hairy, but Sassuolo are going to keep throwing stuff at us here late in this first half. They look like they're going to try and break us right before the halftime whistle. Ode gets past his man. It's a little bit dicey again, but De Quiros with a good block, and then Coronado with the header away. They are really putting some good pressure on us late in this half, and this highlight continues as well. Bogle just outside the box, puts a ball across, but Melia takes that safely, and we should be going into halftime at 0-0, and we do, and I think we can be pretty happy with that, because you look at the stats, we are being thoroughly outplayed in this game. 12 shots to 1, 4-1 on target. We are clinging on, especially late in that half. You see the XG graph, they were all over us there, but fairly happy with how things are going. I'll give the boys a bit of a rev up at halftime, and in fact, I think we are going to make one substitution as well before we do that, because Aussie Cisneros has been carrying a little bit of an injury throughout this half, so I think Felix Mecha will come on for him, but otherwise we'll tell the boys to just try and get a goal, and hopefully then we can kick on in this game, because we've done well to hang on in that first half, and we go into the second half locked up still at 0-0. Throw in here early in the first half for us, and we are down the right area of the pitch. Russell with the ball over the top, and it will find Reyes, so if we can pinch a goal here, it would feel harsh on Sassuolo, but give us a great chance, but I'm pretty sure Mecha is about 10 yards offside there. He was in far too good a position to not be in an offside position there. It looked like he put the ball in the back of the net nicely, but pretty sure he's offside. Indeed it is, and it does remain 0-0. Free kick here to Sassuolo at the 54-minute mark as they try and get what they will feel like is a deserved lead in this game. It'll be hard to argue, and that shot comes off the post, and I think we're going to make some changes here as well to try and stem the flow here, because they are all over us at the moment. A few players on 6.4 ratings, or 6.3 in fact, is Graham Zusi. So Jalen Lindsay can come on for him. Matt Olasunde came into this game with a little bit of a niggle, which I forgot to mention. So Jalen Lindsay back into the first rotation. He can get a start off the bench. And also Anthony Reyes not performing as well as we know he can in this game. Polito to come on for him. Those are our three subs, in fact, with that halftime sub we made for Cisneros as well. So 35 minutes to go. Hopefully we can hang on and potentially even pinch a winning goal here at Sassuolo. 63 minutes gone. A throw in here for the Sassy boys, and they do hold that up quite nicely. Good interception there from Mecha, but unfortunately his clearance is not a good one. And now their left winger in a lot of space puts a ball in, and they finally break us down. Chris Fulik puts that in the bottom right corner. To be fair to Melia, he couldn't do much there, and he's had a pretty darn good game, as have both of our centre backs, but in the end, it's just too much pressure for us to cope with. A good ball there from the left winger with the long name, puts in for Furyk. It's a really good header. Just can't keep them out for that long when they're putting that much pressure on us. And it's 1-0 after 64 minutes. 73 minutes gone here in Sassuolo with a throw in their area of the pitch, or their half of the pitch, I should say. And they do keep possession after we nearly pinch it off them there. Now Bogle out on the right, just on the edge of the box. Mitchell with a good slide tackle to keep the first play out. We head that away through Lindsay, but Russell can't quite pick it up. Nice ball over there for the far post. And Brian Ode, that's a wonderful assist from Georgios with the long last name out there on the left wing. He has been a thorn in our side all day, and after we held out pretty well for that first hour of this tie, Sassuolo starting to assert their dominance here in the last half hour. That's a really nice ball, and Ode running onto it nicely. Pretty good finish, not much we can do with that. A wonderful pass, and we go 2-0 down with quarter of an hour to go. 79 minutes gone here. We have a throw in a nice area of the pitch, and Doyle Hayes holds this up just outside the box. Remy Walter back out to Louis Martins. If we can get a goal here, we might play ourselves back into a position to try and get a point out of this game, and it is absolutely needed as well. Ball over the top. Polito gets to it, puts it in the back of the net, but I think he's offside again. That's a few times in the second half. Our players just a little bit too far in front of the defenders, and again, that's the case. Yeah, otherwise that would have been a pretty soft goal that they conceded there. Sassuolo will just check how offside he was. Not nearly as obvious as the Metcha one, and yeah, only about a stride that time. Good finish, but he was offside, and still it remains 2-0. 86 minutes gone, and Sassuolo with a throw right on the halfway line, but they get into their right half of the field, and they boot that deep out to the goal scorer in Bogle there from Ferrari, and we look to hold on to this 2-0 scoreline, but they're just putting way too much pressure on us, and they make it 3-0, and it's getting a bit embarrassing for us now. Luis Diaz with the header at the far post. They're just way too good for us. Looks like we're going to be in for a really tough time in the Europa League this season. We did a decent job to get out of the group stage in our last 2 years, but we've got a very tough group this time around, and it's proving to be the case there. 3-0 to Sassuolo with only 4 minutes to go. And coming up towards full time, that's full time. We get put out of our misery, it is fair to say. We never really created too much in that game. We went to more directed about the hour mark, but it didn't really change things. A few more chances, and we put the ball in the back of the net a few times, but from offside positions. And yeah, in the end, they were just way too good for us there, Sassuolo. Fair play to them. I thought we hung in that game fairly well throughout the first half. I think our defence, centrally anyway, actually played pretty well. Maybe just our wing backs letting things down this time. And to be fair to the players who we brought in, Russell, Zusi, and Lindsay, none of them really performed that well. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe our reserve players who were doing quite well for us last season, they just seem to be struggling this season, and maybe that was an area that we did need to improve in the past transfer window. But to be fair, our first team still performing quite well, so it's a bit of a topsy-turvy one in that regard. We tried to strengthen up the first team. I think that's paid off. Hopefully Bjortuf proves to be worth the money when we get him involved. But Sassuolo today, way too good for us. And unfortunately, we're probably going to be really struggling to get out of this group now on 0 points after 3 match weeks. And here is what our Europa League group table looks like after that third straight defeat. As I said, don't think we're going to be getting our way out of this group this time around. It is a very good group, as I said, when it got drawn, and we have started things off rather terribly. We're going to need to pick up points against Lens and Sevilla, which is going to be a really tough ask. They're unbeaten, top of the group. Sassuolo in second, then it's PSV and Mulder. So yeah, I think we're going to get thrashed by Sevilla as well. But Lens, maybe we can get some respect out of this group if we can try and get above them. But our goal difference as well is just abysmal. 2 goals for, 11 against. We are being well and truly outclassed. And I suppose if we go to the tactics screen and look at the squad, I ideally like to have our backup players as at least 3-star rated, and they are nowhere near that. So I think that's where the problem lies. We just don't have the right quality in our backup team at the moment, although some of these players are quite young, so hopefully they'll improve, the likes of Coronado and De Quiros. But yeah, it's not looking good for us at the moment, it's fair to say, in this Europa League. Our backup team might not get as much football as they usually do this season, albeit it will allow us to focus more on the league, and that could be a good thing, as we're in a pretty good position, as you saw after the first game, compared to where we were at this time last season. But before we wrap up the episode and tell you guys what's going to be coming up the next time you see me, we have made a few more free transfers. As I said, some quite talented players coming through the club on trial. Lewis Payne is a right back who have signed up, 4-star potential, 2-star current ability. will be hanging around the reserves or the English 18th-year-old. Some very good physicals. Hopefully he'll turn out to be a good player here. Next up is a 4.5-star potential player in Dion Rankine, an English 19-year-old. He can play pretty much anywhere down either flank. I think we're going to train him up to be a right winger more than a right back. I just think his stats potentially suit that a bit more, but another player who is very good physically, and we'll see where he ends up being suited to, but with that potential, would have been silly not to get him on a free. And to round up this spell of free transfers coming through the club is Patrick Ngingi, a Congo 5-star potential player, 2-star current ability, can play on either wing. We're going to train him out on the left as we're a little bit lighter in left wingers than we are right wingers at the club at the moment. Some decent stats already, and with that very good potential, could become a fairly decent player for us here, could Patrick Ngingi. But that does it for today's episode. Continuing the theme, really, as I said at the start of the episode, going very well in the league, but really badly in the Europa League. Our rotation players, as I said, just don't seem to be up to it this year compared to last year. We'll come back, I think, in early October. We might show you guys the highlights of that Super League Cup game. We are going to be expected to win that, but we did beat Estudiantes not too long ago in the Serie A, so hopefully we can do the same with our first choice 11 in that competition, and we'll come back after that for a pretty tough Europa League game, expecting a bit of a thrashing against Sevilla, even at home for us, and off the back of that, we'll take on Boca Juniors in the Serie A. They won the league a few seasons ago before we got promoted up to this division, so that's what we'll come back for in the next episode. But if you did enjoy today, as I said, one good win, one bad loss, about as we expected to be fair given the form of both of our teams. And do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well if you enjoy what you see here on the channel over the weekend, because I think the next episode I'll either bring it out Sunday or Monday, but it might be time to do a channel update, which I might bring out on Sunday just to inform you guys of what's happening in terms of Football Manager 2022. I think it's time to let you guys know the saves that I'm looking at doing for the new game, with the beta coming out in about 2.5 weeks time, give or take, maybe 3 weeks, but it's not too far away now as that Football Manager 22 beta. So I think what we might do over the weekends, I'll release a video talking to you guys about the saves we'll be doing for that game, and then after that we'll get back into this Blue Hell Worldwide and hopefully get promoted up to the Premier League. It's not out of the calculations after we've recovered from that poor start in the league anyway. And until the next time I see you, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.
Sometimes you can